Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the money in your wallet. We're talking about its real story, which all boils down to one simple question. What is a dollar actually worth? To figure that out, we need to get a handle on two big ideas, purchasing power and the Consumer Price Index. Let's dive in.
You know that feeling, right? You look at your paycheck, you look at the price of gas or groceries, and you just get this nagging sense that the math isn't adding up anymore. Well, I'm here to tell you, that feeling is not just in your head. It's a very real economic force at play. And today, we're going to give it a name and show you exactly how it works. So here's our game plan. First, we'll define what purchasing power even is. Then, we'll look at how it's actually measured. After that, we'll dig into the forces that make it go up or down, check out some history lessons, and finally, and this is the important part, talk about how you can protect your own financial future.
All right, let's start at square one. What do we really mean when we talk about purchasing power? It's all about looking past the number printed on a dollar bill and understanding what it can truly get you out in the real world.
So here's the official definition. Purchasing power is simply the amount of stuff, goods and services, that one unit of money, like a single dollar, can buy. Think of it like your money's horsepower in the marketplace. A $20 bill is always going to be a $20 bill, but what it can actually get you? Well, that's changing all the time.
And it really boils down to these two scenarios. On one side, you have strong purchasing power. Your money feels powerful. It buys you more. But on the other side, you've got weak purchasing power. That same dollar buys you less. And that weakness, that's what we all feel during periods of inflation, when prices are climbing and our money just doesn't seem to stretch as far.
And this right here, this really gets to the heart of it. You might look at an old paycheck from, say, 50 years ago and think, wow, how did anyone survive on that? But when you factor in what that money could actually buy, the cost of a house, a car, groceries, their quality of life might have been pretty similar to ours. So the lesson is, it's not just about how much money you have, it's about what your money can do.
Okay, so if the value of our money is always in flux, how in the world do we track it? How do we put a number on that feeling that things are getting more expensive? Well, that brings us to a really important tool called the CPI.
In the US, the main tool for this job is the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. What the government basically does is create a shopping list, a basket of goods and services that a typical household buys. By tracking how the total price of that basket changes month after month, they can calculate the rate of inflation, which is, for all intents and purposes, the #1 enemy of your purchasing power.
So, what's in this basket? As you can see, it's not just random stuff. It's broken down into the big categories we all spend money on. Housing is the biggest piece of the pie by far. Then you've got transportation, food, medical care, and so on. And notice the definition said weighted average. That's key. It just means that a 10% jump in rent has a much bigger impact on the final number than a 10% jump in movie ticket prices, because, well, we spend a lot more on keeping a roof over our heads.
All right, we know what purchasing power is, and we know how we measure it. So the next logical question is, why does it change? What are the big forces at work that are making your money either stronger or weaker over time?
It's really a constant tug of war. On one side, you have the things that cause your purchasing power to drop. Inflation is the big one, of course, but other things, like new regulations or disasters that mess up supply chains, can also push prices up. On the other side, you have things that can make it go up. Deflation, when prices fall, is one, but that's usually a sign of a struggling economy. The real hero on this side is technological innovation.
And you see this all the time with electronics, right? It's a fantastic example of a gain. Thanks to Moore's Law and just incredible innovation, our money has become insanely powerful when it comes to buying technology. That $1,000 that bought you a pretty good laptop a couple years ago, today it'll get you a way more powerful machine or the same one for a fraction of the cost. That is a massive deflationary force in that specific part of the economy.
Now, this isn't just some academic exercise. These forces have very real, sometimes devastating consequences. To really get why stable purchasing power is so important, we have to look at what's happened in the past when things went completely off the rails.
This timeline shows 3 huge moments. First, you've got Germany after World War I, where hyperinflation got so bad people were using wheelbarrows of cash to buy bread. It completely destroyed their society. Then, you fast forward to the US in the 70s and 80s during a period called the Great Inflation, which was a really painful wake-up call. And more recently, the 2008 crisis showed us that in today's world, a financial shock in one place can ripple out and affect everyone's purchasing power everywhere.
Let's just pause on that middle point for a second. 14%. That was the peak inflation rate in the US during that time. To give you some context, most central banks today shoot for an inflation target of around 2%. So 14% isn't just high, it's an absolute economic disaster. It's a catastrophic erosion of your money's value in a very short amount of time. So what does a number like 14% inflation feel like for a regular person? Well, it means this. Let's say you worked hard and saved up $10,000 in a bank account. After just 1 year of 14% inflation, that money could only buy what about $8,600 could have bought when you started. You lost over a tenth of your life savings without spending a dime. That is the brutal, tangible reality of what high inflation does.
Okay, so this brings us to what's probably the most important question of all. What can you actually do about it? Because understanding the problem is one thing, but the real goal is to protect yourself. So, let's talk strategy.
First off, we need to be clear about who gets hit the hardest. At the top of the list are retirees, especially those on a fixed income like a pension, because their paycheck doesn't go up when prices do. Next are the savers. Anyone just holding cash is watching their money's value literally melt away. And finally, investors in things like bonds that pay a fixed interest rate can get crushed because inflation can easily eat up and even exceed their returns. So, what are the moves you can make? Here are 3 big ideas. First, you can look at something called TIPS. They're basically government bonds that are designed to fight inflation. Their value actually goes up with the CPI. Second, you can explore commodities. We're talking about physical stuff like oil or gold. Their prices often rise when the value of paper money is falling, so they can act as a hedge. But the third step is the most important principle of all. You have to aim for a real return. That just means your investments need to grow faster than inflation. If your portfolio is up 5% but inflation is at 3%, your real return, your actual gain in purchasing power, is 2%. Anything less than that and you're still falling behind.
And that's what we'll leave you with. This basic idea of purchasing power, what your money can buy, is as old as money itself. But the world we live in is changing at lightning speed. We've got digital currencies, constant global shocks to supply chains, and totally new economic ideas taking hold. The fundamental question will always be the same, but how we answer it in the years to come, well, that story is still being written.